winning, on down the line. It's just an outstanding a member of the team.
Oh, and let's read them off. Tracy Talavera, Kathy Johnson, Marcia Frederick, Lucy Collins, Amy Koopman, Julianne McNamara, and the alternate Beth Klein. There are the scores right there, your U.S. Women's Olympic Gymnastic team. And let's not forget that those 12 young men and women will go on a 5-city, 2-week tour of the United States and then compete in 2 meets in Europe. No, Moscow is not a part of their future, but yes, making an Olympic team has been for quite a while a part of their dream, Nancy.
Brian, it's such an exciting thing just to be a member. We've talked about it before. It's just an honor, and it's something that stays with you throughout your whole life. You are an Olympian.
I think you said that to me as we were coming out in the car. You know, you said you can win gold medals and you can set records, but eventually you're just a name in a book. But once you're Olympian, you're always an Olympian.
Nobody can ever take that honor away from you, and I'm thankful to be an Olympian. These kids, oh, it's so exciting that now they have a chance to say that they were on our United States Olympic team.
You're close to so many of the girls. How many of them have a realistic chance of going at it again in '84?
Well, the way women's gymnastics is, very few. Usually you have a season or a peak age of maybe 3 years, and it's tough for these kids to go another 4 years, especially the ones here. They've trained, they've been through the emotion, and it's tough to stay up there for another 4 years.
You may have heard all the applause and all the laughter in the background. That was for Pauletta Hunter, who does a comic routine on the floor exercise mat, for which he just got a 1. He posing as a she. We are waiting for the introduction of the team. If you think you've seen some emotion so far, watch the reaction of this crowd when this team is introduced. Perhaps no young people, at least in this sport, have been asked to make the sacrifice that these young people are making.
You're right, Brian, and sometimes, you know, when I was on the team at age 14, oftentimes I think about it, I don't think I realized it at that young of an age just exactly what I had done.
I was going to ask you, particularly with the women, and I use the term loosely because we're talking about 13 and 14-year-olds in some cases. You know them so well. You're a good friend of many of them. Do they really understand why they're not going?
I think they understand it in their minds. Maybe it's hard in their hearts. They've trained so very, very hard, but I know, walking into the Olympic arena in 1972, to me it was the ultimate gymnastics meet, but it wasn't the Olympic Games. It became the Olympic Games when I got older and I realized what the prestige of being an Olympian and the things that could happen to you having been named to our Olympic team. So it'll be interesting to see how they look back on this in the next few years.
They are very young, but I don't think the moment is going to be lost on them, at least on this at this point in their lives, because right now it's an emotional night for us as we just stand here. You can imagine what it is like if you are waiting backstage to be introduced to this throng, and they've all got their flags, and they're waiting to cheer because they won't get a chance in Moscow.
I don't think the people at home can quite feel the feeling here. We've got people all over this arena with American flags waving it, a huge American flag behind us. A lot of patriotism. It's such an honor to be a member of the United States Olympic team.
Here comes our team. They are trying to gather the 12 members of the team and the 2 alternates backstage. Look at the scores one more time as we wait. Here's the women's scores. Tracy Talavera, just 13 years old, sitting up top. She's followed by Kathy Johnson, one of the veterans of the crew, and Marcia Frederick, another veteran. Lucy Collins, Amy Koopman, Julianne McNamara, and Beth Klein is the alternate.
Still has to be decided because Beth and Julianne were tied for 6th place.
And on the men's team, here we go one more time. Bart Connor at the top, followed by Jim Hartung, Peter Vidmar, Ron Gallimore, Phil Cahoy, Larry Gerard, and Mike Wilson. And marching out first, Tracy Talavera, just 13 years old.
And Brian, I'm having a hard time holding back the emotion myself. Tracy, coming from the same team that I competed with, I know it's like, I know the training that she's been through. It's been a tough year for her.
Kathy Johnson.
And emotion here too. Kathy, I can relate to what she's been through. She's the oldest one here. She's fought the odds. It is emotion. And Marcia, what she's done for gymnastics in this country, in the world, United States gymnastics.
Marcia Frederick, followed by Lucy Collins in 4th. In 5th, here comes Amy Koopman.
Amy Koopman, I don't know if of all people, if she knows what she has really done. She is so young, first on the scene.
And as Julianne McNamara and Beth Klein come out, I want to go up to Charlie Jones.
Brian, have been caught up in the emotion and the feeling. Marshall Abner, you were a two-time Olympian. What is it like? What comes back into your mind from this moment?
Charlie, it's like reaching that moment that you've been working for so long that sums up your whole life at that point and makes it all seem worth it. It's like the student when he thinks he's finally achieved his doctorate, or someone that's worked for completing a building, some long, long goal, and you always wonder if you should quit. You go through the trials and tribulations, and like that, it's worth it. You're glad, and you have something to carry with you your lifelong.
And I think I have this one thought, Bryant, that goes through my mind. Tonight, our athletes, our United States athletes, have painted a beautiful canvas, and they have painted a canvas of gymnastics. But because of the boycott, it'll be just a limited edition. Bryant?
It is an incredible moment, Charlie Jones. Youth, in this case, is not wasted on the young, Kurt Thomas.
No, it is not. I think we have the best team we could possibly field out there right now. All those guys standing up there are dazed.
It's funny, as you watch them, they are all shaking their heads like, I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that, you know, these guys who work so hard and train so hard for what they're doing, and now it's all come true.
And now they are all standing at attention as the public address announcer introduces the coaches of the Olympic team for women. I turn that over to you, Nancy.
Ernestine Weaver, she too has done a lot for our sport. A collegiate coach, a great motivator for all the kids. I think they're going to enjoy working under her.
And the assistant coach from Oklahoma, Paul Zirk.
Paul Zirk, the assistant from Oklahoma. And as you see the balloons floating down, no, you have not stumbled on the political conventions. They'll be down the road this summer.
Francis Allen.
Here come our head coaches, Francis Allen.
And the assistant men's coach, Bill Meade.
And his assistant, Bill Meade. What a night it has been. It has been all we expected and more. It has been all we expected in terms of the competition, in terms of the intensity of it, and certainly, and perhaps above all, in terms of the emotion of it. For these young people, it hardly matters at this point that Moscow is not in their future. For the time being, they are Olympians, and no one will ever take that away from them. The confetti, the applause, the balloons, it's all part of it. For these young people, this is Moscow. And it's been our pleasure to be a part of it. For Charlie Jones, Marshall Abner, Kurt Thomas, and Nancy Thies, and all the NBC people here that have gathered to bring this to you, a very proud Brian Gumbel saying thanks very much for joining us for the U.S. Gymnastics Trials. This NBC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Walker, America's best-selling muffler, installed at over 15,000 service stations and repair garages. And by Light Beer, everything you always wanted in a beer, and less. The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson will be seen in its entirety immediately following local news.